Welcome to the Help We Need podcast, where we explore topics that empower women and support their well-being. I am your host, Fumi Cameron KG, and today we will be discussing a very important topic as we enter into the new year, and that is setting realistic goals for 2025. Now, as women, this is important. So please stay tuned. Don't go away. Pay attention. Now, whether you are young or old, there is always room for growth and there's always room for improvement across various aspects of our lives. So on today's podcast, I will be discussing the different types of goals that are available to us as women. I'll be helping us look at a balanced view for the purpose of developing ourselves in all possible, but more importantly, realistic areas of our lives. So we're going to be looking at goals that cut across professional, and you could refer to that as self-improvement. We'll be looking at physical well-being goals, and you could refer to that as health goals. And would also be looking at mental or emotional well-being goals, and obviously social or relationship goals. We'll speak to financial goals and would also close off by talking about religious or spiritual goals. Now, all these goals are something that really complements us as women and makes us all rounded and equipped for our journey in 2025. And more importantly, we would go into a bit of examples to be able to kind of blow this out a bit more so they become relatable and realistic. And obviously, you'd need to connect the dots and look for ways that you can adopt them in your day-to-day. So let's get started. So let's kick off with professional goals, and you could also refer to these goals as self-improvement goals, something that would help you to be a more rounded person. And again, whether you're young or whether you're old, self-development, self-improvement is a game changer. Learning new skills that align with your personal values, I think, is crucial for us as women. We can never say, I've got it all in and I'm perfect and there's nothing to work upon. No. So when we talk about learning new skills, what does that look like? What do I mean? So I'm going to pick on some examples that I think would be relatable and it's something you can connect with. So say, for example, this new year, we're focusing on your communication skills. And what does that mean? That means that you could be looking this year at being more approachable in terms of how you talk to others or how you respond to others in conversations. Do you talk in a respectful manner? So that's something you can connect with. When you have conversations with people, do they feel like you're attacking them? Do they feel like you don't give them room to express themselves? Do they feel like you're talking over them and it's always like it's your voice that needs to be heard? If that speaks to you, then that's a skill that you might want to enhance this year, your communication skills. And it could be something that I think applies to all women. I think it applies to everyone in general, but for women, I think this is really important. And that's time management skills, right? So we're arriving at meetings or you're going for events or social outings. Do you get there on time? And there's this saying, I believe it would resonate with some of our listeners. They call it African time, right? So this doesn't just apply to women, by the way. So that's a disclaimer, but it does apply to us generally as women. You know, for some of us, when we're trying to get dressed, we take time. So maybe a strategy that our loved ones could use with us is give us a time that is not exactly the time. So, at the end of the day, we get on time. But more importantly, it could be a focus area for you for 2025. So making sure that you get to meetings 45 or 30 minutes before the start time could be something that you're open to look at this year. It's just improve getting to meetings, getting to social gatherings, getting to events on time. Another skill that falls under professional or self-improvement goals could be presentation skills or your organization skills. And just to make that a bit more simple and relatable, it's as a woman, you could be conscious about, your appearance. How do you look? Dressing smartly. Do you look presentable before you go out for an event or you go anywhere? And I know for some of us, it goes without saying, our looks it has to be perfect. But I'm not probably speaking to those groups of people. But more importantly, if you feel like in 2025, you need to kind of take a closer look about the way you dress and how you appear to people, I think that's a goal that you might just want to be keen on enhancing for this year. So dress for the occasion. It doesn't mean that you dress to overkill, but dress in a way that is connected to what you're doing. You cannot dress in a suit if you need to go to the gym. You cannot dress in a bathing suit or a bikini if you need to go for an interview. So are you dressed for the occasion? That could be a goal that you're looking at enhancing for 2025. Another aspect of leveraging or building up on your professional goals could be setting achievable milestones with meaningful rewards. So what do I mean by this? So initially we talked about communication skills, right? So you being able to be more relatable, to be much more respectable in how you communicate, learning to listen, and then responding instead of just having your voice out there. So you could look at, something connected to that would make it more appealing for you to want to work on that skill. So for example, if you are someone that is working in an office and you go to work every day, you could even be someone that has their own business, or you could even be a housewife. Just considering the fact that enhancing your communication skills makes you more approachable, and also enhances the way you connect with people. So in a sense, you could come across as friendly, would engender more people to relate with you, and it has its benefits, right? Because when you have more people very keen on connecting with you, they feel you're personable, they feel you're someone that, they can relate with, you get more interest, you get more people recommending you for maybe projects at work. And if you're an entrepreneur, when you get to meet more people, you enhance your network, you get to meet more contacts that probably would help you in your day-to-day assignments. And even if you're an homemaker, how do you connect with your spouse? How do you talk to your children? How do you talk with your siblings? How do you talk with your loved ones? Just finding time to be more approachable, to be more understanding, in a sense, would engender, people to you. So that could be a reward you could tie to working on that skill. That could be something that would drive you to make a goal out of enhancing that skill. So remember, we talked about communication, we talked about time management, and we also talked about your presentation. It could even be organization skills. Are you untidy? Is everywhere disheveled? Do you need to sort of tone things up a bit and make your space look neater? These skills are some skills, as an example, that could be relatable, and it could be something that you're open to work on. So let's move on to a perspective that I would like to share in terms of when we look at our professional goal. And I think it's helpful to just step back a bit and give ourselves some love. So in a sense, what am I trying to say? As we set this professional goal to improve ourselves, let's ensure that we're focusing on progress, not necessarily perfection, right? Let's not overkill. Let's not overdo it. So in a sense, you know, we may not fully get the desired result I anticipated, but making progress is a step. And that's something that we need to celebrate. So yes, I was looking at getting this number of contacts. Maybe out of 50, I got 2. 2 is huge, right? Think about if you didn't even focus on the goal at all. So really the focus should be progress. Have I made progress? Have I moved from point A to point B? So let's not beat ourselves down. As women, when it comes to professional goals or self-improvement, it's all about continuous growth and our ability to celebrate small victories along the way. It doesn't have to be massive. It doesn't have to be a huge kill, right? Just baby steps. It's really part of the journey, and that's what really counts. So I hope that was helpful. So let's move on to health goals. And in a sense, you could also refer to that as, you know, physical well-being. And when we talk about physical well-being, I think something that connects really well is us, right? Our bodies. This mobile house that we move around in, this house, this body, that house is our souls, right? And I think it's so important that we take time to nurture it, that we take time to care for it, right? Because it's serving us, but are we serving it? So caring for our bodies, caring for our health, caring for our physical well-being, this year 2025 is essential. Every age, whether you're a young woman, whether you're an old woman, you need to care for this vessel, right? It's really important. So we know that there are benefits if we really take care of ourselves. There are fewer visits to the hospitals or the less sick that we would get. So being intentional about caring for our bodies, I think it goes without saying, right? So for younger women, we could look at focusing on building healthy habits. You know, this could last a lifetime and not necessarily, you know, being quantitative, you know, the number of foods I've been able to cut down on. No, it's just the quality of it, right? How well are we doing it? Remember, you know, little steps, baby steps, one step at a time is really what makes the impact. So let's break it down a bit. How can we make that realistic for us? So incorporating regular exercise, right? And I know you've heard of this all the time. Exercise. Yes, exercise, because exercise is good for you as a woman. You pump that heart, you keep those joints moving, you remain functional. This is not a trend. This is a benefit. So for starters, if we're not so keen on exercise, we could start off. So even if it's just 20 minutes of work, you start from somewhere. And then we could build off that to say, I start 20 minutes and gradually I make it 30 minutes and gradually I start walking for 1 hour and then graduate to even 2 hours. And then maybe you might even, you know, let's not do working anymore. Let's do something else. But we need to start from somewhere. So in 2025, try to be consistent, making it little steps, right? 20 minutes of walking. If you're someone that you're not really keen on exercise, walk around the neighborhood, park your car farther from the entrance of a mall, for example, or the office, and take time to walk a few steps. You could get to a company, you could get to an establishment and decide, okay, if it's 4 floors, that's not really an overkill. If I'm not going to sweat a lot, let me take the stairs instead of taking the elevator or the lift. So these are ways you could sneak in exercises into your daily routines. Another goal to look out for in terms of our physical wellness is balanced nutrition. And I know, yes, we hear this all the time, but this year could be a year where you're intentional and make it a goal that you want to achieve. So we've talked about exercise, but without proper nutrition, exercise is like working and making no progress at all. So ensure that you eat less fatty foods if you're into the oil business, the butter business, the fatty business. Scale it down, increase your intake of water, drink a lot of water, or start eating vegetables. And a rule for one could be, when I look at that plate, what percentage of the food on my plate has vegetables? So you could start off small with that. Incorporate frozen veggies. Make sure you're maybe buying lettuce, even cucumber. Look for vegetables, tomatoes, and blend that into your daily nutrition. Get more vegetables. That could be a goal for you. Reduce the oil. You don't have to fill the pot with the oil. And I know for some of our certain cultures, we need to have the stew really looking like, get me. And the oil is the appeal, right? We need to scale down on the oil. They clog the arteries. They're not good for us. So we talked about exercise earlier on, but maybe we could also look at a goal like exploring different physical activities. And what do I mean by that? Like for us as women, some of us would probably consider weightlifting, right? To improve our muscle tone, to build strength for those of us that, are very weak. We don't have a strong core. Weightlifting could be something that we could sort of incorporate. And this also could help with our heart health, right? Could help us burn fat. So let's explore different ways. But in doing that, it looks so drab, it looks so painful, it looks so stressful. Like, why are these people, they're suffering? But let's look for ways to make it enjoyable. Let's look for ways to add in the joy, the joy element. And there are certain exercises that could come from dancing. And, for the us that love some good music, you're going to parties, bring it on, and before you know it, we're shaking, we're getting up, we're dancing to the rhythm. That's a form of exercise. And it could be for some of us, you just want to dance. So boxing could be, you could explore boxing. Why not? If you're inclined to go to the gym, or you could get a personal trainer, and you don't have to have a personal trainer. There are all videos out there that you could look at, from your phone. You start small, get into the groove. And you don't necessarily also have to go to the gym, because most times you get people saying, I went to the gym, I enrolled at the gym. If you cannot afford it, or if it's not something that is aligned with your schedule because you have little kids you're taking care of, you could, get a yoga mat, do some exercises at home. That's equally as impactful. You don't necessarily have to go to the gym. So let's try and look for ways to get these goals in this year, as opposed to coming up with excuses and saying, there's no exercise, I don't have somebody to train me, there is no availability, I don't have a space, I can't go to the gym. No, this year could be a year where you say, you know what, let's use my phone, let's look for exercises on YouTube, or look for apps, do something. Come on. Okay, so let's move on to sleep and hydration. Common sense, right? Sleep, anybody can sleep, or depending on our circumstances, but mostly sleep is something that we could kind of focus on. I, for one, I really need to work on that this year. And, in terms of, it could be like ensuring that every day you set a time, you set an alarm. I must go to bed at this time. 8:30 p.m., I need to be on the bed, things like that. Little by little, first day, second day, yeah, you might not be going exactly at that time, but you start something, and over time you get consistent. So it's a time, set an alarm to go to bed at a particular time. Now, hydration obviously is drinking water. And honestly, if you really reflect, how many cups of water do you drink every day? You know, drinking water is good for us, right? It helps us flush our bodies of toxins. It helps, the blood flow properly. It helps the systems and the organs work effectively. So that's the easiest, drinking water. So if you need to get a big jug and you just put that on your table and say, I have this big 3 liter, 4 liter jug, I must drink this water every day. It has to be empty, breaking it in different times of the day. Another example could be set your alarm. You need to drink water at 12. You need to drink water at 2. You need to drink water at 7. You need to drink water at 8. Just make sure you don't drink water closer to the night because that's going to impact your sleep, right? When you get up in the middle of the night, having to go to the bathroom. So try and stagger your water intake at the early part of the day. Just make sure that as a goal, for example, 2 liters of water every single day. That's the way to go. And yeah, you're kicking off with the health goals. And, before you know it, you're feeling better, you're feeling lighter, you're feeling good. So something else that we could also consider, and this is not for everyone, but if you fall into the bracket of women that need to reduce their alcohol consumption, the first question would be, how is this consumption rate like at the moment? And what could you do to reduce it? Like, could you stop going to places where they sell it? Could you stop hanging out with friends that freely give it? Or could you throw out some of those bottles in your house? And in essence, trying to scale it down a bit, depending on the frequency, you could reduce it to you drink only once a week, right? If that makes any sense in terms of the consumption rates, or it could be once every 3 months and then gradually once every 6 months until hopefully you completely stop. That is the ultimate goal. If that's not the ultimate goal, then maybe the initial goal for this year could be, how do I reduce my consumption of alcohol? And then step by step, just incorporate that. And, before you know it becomes a habit and you're able to reduce it. Okay. Now, and I think this actually is priority, staying consistent with health checkups and screenings, I think is non-negotiable for us as women. And health screenings such as mammograms, right, where we get to screen our breasts, where we get to do pap smears, or test to help, with the lower part of our bodies and ensure that, our reproductive system is healthy. Major screenings for women is non-negotiable. So, you hear news these days, right, talking about breast cancer, and it's no longer the 40 and above anymore. Even young people, young women, young girls have breast cancer. So this year could be a year where you decide you take your health front line and center. This is important, and we need to be proactive about our health. So doing screenings on time, checking, and making sure that every other year we're doing the breast examinations, we're having the pap smear test done, and we ensure that we are ahead of the curve so that if anything is wrong, we get to spot it on time. So this is what I would really recommend that we focus on for the year. You don't focus on any health goal at all. Screening should be something that is non-negotiable for 2025, right? And of course, you can sneak in other things as well. Drinking water shouldn't be a problem. Sleep, try and walk around that a bit, but screening, don't forget to do that. Now, for us older women on the podcast, obviously, I can't but overemphasize that we also need some activities, right? We need to get into the groove. We need to build resilience. We need to enhance the flexibility so that we can reduce the stress. You know that when you exercise, the body secretes certain hormones, right? Oxytocin, dopamine, they help reduce the stress. So for us, all the women on our podcast, you could try some aerobic exercises, like walking, like swimming, like stretching, like, some Pilates, nothing too extreme, but definitely getting your muscles toned, your hearts pumping, and just relieving all those pains in the joints and what have you. Of course, I would suggest that as elderly women, we obviously speak to our medical practitioners, we talk to our nutritionists, we speak to physiotherapists, depending on the circumstances. I know for some elderly women with arthritis or painful joints, we need to find what works best for us. And interestingly, I had this conversation a while ago with an elderly woman who enrolled for swimming classes. I mean, I was shocked, like, what's she doing here? And she was able to talk to me, that's really helped her with arthritis, and she's, feeling much better and all that. And she actually motivated me, in terms of swimming, because I'm like, if this woman at this age can do this, obviously for health reasons, I mean, I can do this, right? So that's a way to go for our elderly women on the podcast. And obviously, I can't but overemphasize that regular health screenings for you, if I'm saying for younger women, it's non-negotiable. For older women, if there's another word that we can use to replace non-negotiable, I think that would be the word. I just don't have one right now. So I know for some of us who are elderly on the podcast, we could have chronic illnesses, but we could be proactive around these checkups to make sure that we're ensuring long-term vitality for ourselves, right? We're here for our loved ones. For those of us that have children or grandkids, we're here to, continue to support them, to give them good advice. I mean, just having us around as elderly women is a dream of any family, right? So doing those checkups, being proactive to care for whatever chronic illnesses you're going through would definitely enhance the quality of your life. So I hope that's helpful. Okay, so let's move on to our mental health goals or emotional well-being goals. And it's mental health. And I know we hear it so loud these days, but mental health is just as important as your physical health, right? What you're thinking, your thought patterns, how that affects your body, your emotions. So how do we focus on mindset shifts? Because we're already used to a way of living. How do we come to a place where mentally we can be healthy? We can promote our well-being from that space, because I think it's really very important. So 2025, looking at enhancing our emotional and mental well-being, I think for us as women, it's important, right? And one or certain goals that we could look at could be embracing mistakes as a learning opportunity, right? And I know for us as women, we often beat ourselves down. If we make a mistake, if we do something wrong, if we decided that, today I'm not going to shout, and that child just does something and you just, you know what I mean, right? You scream. And just trying to calm yourself down in the moment. And like, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, I did this again. Okay. But it's an opportunity to learn. Why did I shout? What triggered me? And what could I do next time to anticipate that this is coming? And how I could be a bit more composed and calm, just embracing the mistake as a learning opportunity instead of just completely beating yourself down. Okay, so that's something I think we need to reflect on for this year in terms of, I'm not going to beat myself down. I'm going to focus on what I did wrong. I apologize, say sorry if I hurt someone, and make sure I don't repeat it again, obviously, because then the sorry doesn't make sense, right? So that's one area to look at for our mental wellness. And then another goal could be, how can we cultivate habits that contribute to long-term personal growth, right? And what do I mean? When it comes to mental and emotional well-being, I mean, I can't but overemphasize that in our day and in our time, there is so much hate. There's so much negativity. There's so much rivalry. There's so much contention. There's so much bitterness. I mean, you just need to look around you to have a feel of what I'm talking about, or just put on the news, right? And there's this overwhelming pull that just sucks you in. So in a sense, how can we practically cultivate habits that would make us a bit more emotionally okay? One way could be having a mindfulness or gratitude journal, right? And you don't have to have the fancy ones that say this is a gratitude or mindfulness journal. You could get an exercise book. You could get a notebook. You make it a journal, right? So just learn to, unlearn the negativity by actually writing what's good about your day, what's good about your life, what's good about your loved ones. Look around you, look for something good. What's good about the day? What are the encounters? What's something that you can pick on and you could be grateful for every single day before you go to bed? Think of something that you're grateful for in the day. Make it a habit for the family. At the end of the day, maybe for some of us that do prayers before the end of the day with the family, maybe have the kids say something they're grateful for in the day. We could start from there. Or if it's just you, what am I grateful for today? No matter how chaotic it looked, what was that one thing that I'm grateful for? And as we embrace this mindset of positivity, regardless of what's happening around us, regardless of the negativity, we choose in 2025 to think positively. It goes a long way. And I, for one, my experiences, it changes perspective. It changes the way you look at things, and it opens you up for more ideas, more way of relearning, of thinking of other things as opposed to wasting your energy on the negativity. So hopefully that helps. And then for mental or emotional well-being, another goal could be prioritizing, something meaningful or something that is emotionally captivating for you, or like you enjoy doing. So what's that happy place of yours? For me, my happy place is music. Just turning on the music, dancing, and what have you. If that's your happy place, go for it. If your happy place is reading, go for it. If your happy place is cooking, go for it. Look for something that makes you fulfilled as a human being. But more importantly, I think the focus now is around how can we find joy, not just in ourselves, but in others. And it could involve volunteering, right? Helping other people out. There's a joy that comes from giving. If you happen to have maybe volunteered to pack food, or you've been in donation centers, or you've just helped clean up, or you've just volunteered and raised your hands to help the elderly, there is a joy in giving that is not explainable. So these are things that we can do, right? Look for something that adds value and makes you feel fulfilled, either in your day-to-day, in something that you can relate with, or in just helping other people. And that's something I think that would make a lot of sense. And, when we talk about emotional health, it's not abstract. These are things that we could do. These are things that are easy to do. Get in a journal. These are things that come by every day. And we know we live in a fast-paced society, right? Especially for those of us that are working women. Every day looks like you're running a race. And it just seems as if there's so much out there. So as young women, our need to self-care, to ensure we're leveraging stress management techniques, it goes without saying. All these things help us reduce stress. I talked about creating a joyful atmosphere. listening to music. I mean, I go for the gospels, right? I enjoy worship songs. I enjoy gospel music. That's my happy place. When I'm feeling low, when the energy is dipped, I just put it on and I come alive. So look for something that would help your emotional well-being this year. And you know what? Take the joy back. Give yourself joy. I hope this has been helpful. Thank you. I think it's an episode worth relating to because this is an episode that would help us set realistic goals for 2025. So it's one episode you want to keep close to your chest, and I hope it's been extremely helpful for you. Again, remember, every step forward, no matter how small, is a step towards a better you. So stay tuned for more episodes on living your best lives. Until next time, when we meet again, stay empowered and remember to empower her.